let's just start with like why we do maintenance. I mean, the biggest thing is when you purchase a tractor from the factory, that is the best condition it is ever going to be in for the rest of its life. From that day forward, it is corroding, it is getting worn out, and you're putting wear and tear on it. So basically what maintenance is you're getting your money's worth out of it, and it's a lot of money for a tractor, you know. So without maintenance, you're basically throwing money away, you know, because you're going to need a new tractor faster. Especially here in Hawaii, and in this environment, if you can keep your machines out of the rain, they're going to last so much longer, out of the rain and the sun, because you all know how fast stuff rusts around here, you know, especially with equipment that may not get used that often. It'll just rust out so fast. I got a backhoe on our property that we found in the woods, and it was like, you know, it's pieces. It runs, you know, but all the sheet metal's gone. You know, a lot of the pins are worn out and stuff, and we might be able to get it running again, but, you know, it's only got 4,000 hours on a big piece of earth-moving equipment. Those can go 6,000, 7,000 hours. There's still a lot of life left in it, had it been maintained, had it been, you know, cared for. Slew. And a lot of the things from the automotive world apply over to tractors, right? So we're still dealing with an engine and transmission, you know, but now we have some other components thrown on. We got bigger hydraulic pumps, because we're not just running power steering, we're running, you know, auxiliary equipment, we're running loaders, you know, we're running rears, and then we also have power takeoffs, PTOs, and yeah. So here, for anyone that's going to change oil, that's like one of our biggest things is engine oil changing, and the engine oil needs to be changed just like a car. There's a filter, oil filter. You drain it. In the owner's manual or in the service manual, it'll tell you how many liters or how many quarts to put back in. Fill up the filter, put the filter back on. After you've drained the oil, fill it back up with oil. And there's intervals. Most of the time, I know on the Kubota that I'm currently servicing, first one's at 50 hours, next one's at 250 hours. So they do that short interval at first because when the engine's brand new, there's a lot of wear and tear going into it as it breaks in. You know, as those pistons move up and down inside the cylinders, they're going to wear, and actually they seal up better because you know, the grooves made in there, everyone's fitting together. So all that metal and all those little pieces from it grinding off all goes into your oil. And so when you drain the oil out, put new oil in, now all of a sudden all that stuff's not getting circulated all the way through the engine block every time you're running it. So in Hawaii they use, when you drain your oil, they got these at Costco. But it's basically, this is a bag of dryer lint, probably from the commercial laundromats. And you basically put your oil in here, put it in the bag, put it in your trash can, they burn it at H power. Sell it back to you as power. You can also use sawdust. You don't have to buy one of these things. You can just mix it with sawdust. Basically, they don't want liquid. So you can do it in a bag, mix it up. Most of the time I do it in a 5-gallon bucket. You know, I'll drain into a pan, and then mix in a 5-gallon bucket and dump it all into a bag. Most other states, they recycle oil, so you would take it to somewhere to recycle it. When I was in Iowa, I worked on a farm that they refiltered the oil and burned it back as diesel fuel. I wouldn't suggest doing that because it works, it runs, but you got engine oil in all of your fuel pumps. Fuel pumps are more expensive than clutches. Let's put it that way. It's the whole heart of everything. You're always going to need rags. Okay, these are reusables, disposables. It's always a good idea to have a hammer on hand. They are tractors. They are metal. You can beat on them pretty good to get things to happen. You know, a lot of the. You know, especially, like, I always like to have a hammer on if I'm going to be changing the 3-point hitch in the back, especially with one person. If you only got one guy and you're backing up to it, you got to back up to it perfect. It takes a long time where you can back up to it perfect. It's always handy to have a hammer on hand. So on these pins, you know, when you got to go to drive these pins in, both of these have to be perfectly square. And you got to back up to it perfectly square. Or you're getting on there, you get one pin in, and then you got to go move it back and forth and the whole time. So I like to have a hammer on hand. and you can beat it back in place. As far as other oil changes that go on, you have transmission fluid, which is also your hydraulic fluid. Most of the time it'll be like gallons of oil, 5 to 7 probably on something like this. The backhoe that we have is 15 gallons at about $80 for 5 gallons of fluid. So it's, you know, it's costly. It's a lot of oil. Yeah, you're going to be mixing a lot of sawdust. You know? And so that oil is changed at a much longer interval because there's so much more of it. But it runs all of your hydraulics, everything that lifts up and down, and then it lubricates all of the mechanisms to keep you moving forward. It also lubricates the PTO. So those are kind of the two main fluids that you're going to check. Coolant is always a good idea to check. You guys know about the gauges. You know, you got a coolant gauge just like your car. It starts running hot. Most of the time, what's going to be happening is the radiator is going to have stuff stuck in it. So this is your radiator, just like your car. This is being used to cool the engine. So as it's running, it's generating a lot of heat from all of the combustion that's going on. And so to get rid of that heat, to keep it from overheating and actually melting down into a large block of metal, all that heat is put into water, and the water is put through little tiny fins so that when air goes through it, all that heat is dispersed into the air. And so if air can't get through it, then we are stuck. Then you start to get an overheating issue. So, most of the time when you're overheating with a car, you might have a water pump issue. You might have something like that. They're designed differently. This, you know, if you sit a car down, it may. They're designed to be on the highway. They're designed to be on the highway moving. Let me pull that guy out. So most of the time, this is a big service item. You see how much stuff is caught on the front of this? Everyone can come over and take a look here. And Jay, maybe just start it up and just lift up here. Yeah. So what's happening is this fan is sucking air through the front of there. So when you're mowing, or if if there's a breeze or if there's dust, and anything gets within the vicinity of here, and it's light enough to be in the air, it's going to get sucked right into that radiator. So now, so you can see how much stuff is on here. So they put this screen on here because they know what's on here. They know that this is a problem. And so this is like basically, there you go, you just service the radiator. Just like that. But you can still see that there's stuff inside here. You can spray this out with a hose, with water. You can spray it out with air. The one thing is you don't want to use a pressure washer. Like if you're in here pressure washing, cleaning the tractor, you never want to face that pressure washer straight at the radiator. Because these are aluminum fins, and they're pretty fragile. I mean, you can touch them, but those pressure washers go up to like 3,000 psi. I mean, they'll chip paint off if you get too close.
Water hose spraying?
Water hose spraying, totally fine. Pressure washer, I'd stay like 2 feet away, kind of thing, so that there's enough time for that water to disperse. And sometimes you even have to stick the hose from the backside, right? Because this air goes all the way through here. Water will certainly go through it. Yeah, so if you come in here and get it from the backside, you know, that'll help a lot. So if you're having overheating issues, this is the first place I would look. Make sure that you know you have this. And anytime you're going through and servicing, I would always open this guy up and look. Because anytime you're going to get excess heat, you're going to be wearing out the engine faster, you're going to be wearing out your oil faster, everything. So if we can keep it cool and happy, the longer the better. As far as washing it, I'm not positive about that. I would say that most of these components are plastic. Some of them are aluminum, but they're all rated designed to be out here in the weather.